Okay, first and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Today we'll be covering Daniel 11, verses 18 through 19. But before we get go, quick recap on 17. He shall also set his face, Daniel 11, verse 17, he shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him, thus shall he do. And he shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither before him. Now, verse 17, it's going into, like towards the end, it's going into Antiochus III, giving his daughter Cleopatra I to Ptolemy V to marry. And in doing so, he was trying to control Ptolemy through Cleopatra, but it didn't go out. It didn't go that way. It didn't go how he expected it. That's why it says here, and he shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither be for him. So now in verse 18, after this shall he return his face unto the isles, and shall take many. And this is dealing with Antiochus III once again. Initially, he was making his way to go take Egypt, but then you had his treaty with Ptolemy V, where he gave his daughter to Ptolemy. So, he turned his face unto the isles, dealing with the islands that were under Ptolemaic rule. You had the Cyclades and the other islands within the Aegean Sea, and you had the coastal areas there that he turned his face towards, in which he took a lot of those lands, and he eventually made his way up into parts of Greece. If we were to look at the map, see, he turned his face up towards here, and then he started making his way up into Greece. But a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. And when we look into this word prince, right? A prince, a chief, ruler, commander, a chief, commander in war, a dictator, a ruler of one in authority, right? And in this case, in Daniel 11:18, this word prince, it's referring to like a commander in a war sense, or a military sense, or an army sense. And to make it more simpler, we can get a translation. NLT translation. After this, he will turn his attention to the coastland and conquer many cities. But a commander from another land will put an end to his insolence and cause him to retreat in shame. Right? And again, this is talking about Antiochus III, and the prince that for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease was the Romans, or that Roman army. Because going into the history of it, the secular history of it, when Antiochus III went to war with Rome, he had to retreat from Greece into Asia Minor, in which the Romans came and defeated him. And upon his defeat, Rome had Antiochus sign a treaty known as the Treaty of Apamea. Continuing, without his own reproach, he shall cause it to turn upon him. Right? Because now that, the Romans, they stopped Antiochus, the attack is now on him. The hunter has now become the hunted. In verse 19, then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. So it says, then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, right? And, so Antiochus, he's going up into Greece, which is over here, that's westward. So when he gets pushed back and faced toward the fort of his own land, that's over here, which is eastward, where his territory was. But he shall stumble and fall and not be found, because this is going into when he actually died. So now, let's go into the history. Antiochus the third degree. war against Rome and death. Antiochus then moved to Asia Minor by land and by sea to secure the coast towns which belonged to the remnants of Ptolemaic overseas dominions and the independent Greek cities. Remember what we just read? After this shall he turn his face unto the isles and shall take many. The enterprise earned him the antagonism of the Roman Republic, since Smyrna and Lampsacus appealed to the Republic, which at the time acted as a defender of Greek freedom. The tension grew when Antiochus in 196 BC established a footing in Thrace. And, this is Thrace up here. Let's see if I can zoom in this area up here. Well, let's pull up a map real quick. Right, so this area here above the Aegean, this is Thrace. So he was able to establish a footing there. The evacuation of Greece by the Romans gave Antiochus his opportunity, and he now had the fugitive Hannibal at his court to urge him on. In 192 BC, Antiochus invaded Greece with a 10,000-man army and was elected the commander-in-chief of the Aetolian League. Now, the Aetolian League was a confederation of tribal communities and cities in ancient Greece centered in Aetolia and Central Greece. So here it is. Antiochus has now become head of this league. He established footing in Thrace, and he swept up those coastal areas, and he invaded Greece. But, why was that? It says, after this, he shall turn his face unto the isles and shall take many. So he did that, but what happens next? In 191 BC, however, the Romans under Manius Acilius Glabrio routed him at Thermopylae, forcing him to withdraw to Asia Minor. Verse 18, but a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. The Romans followed up their success by invading Anatolia, and the decisive victory of Scipio Asiaticus in Magnesia and Cyprium 190 BC following the defeat of Hannibal at sea offside delivered Asia Minor into their hands. Verse 18 once more, without his own reproach he shall cause it to turn upon him. By the Treaty of Alpamaea 188 BC, Antiochus abandoned all the country north and west of the Taurus Mountains, most of which the Roman Republic gave either to Rhodes or to Attalid ruler Eumenes II. Its allies, many Greek cities, were left free. As a consequence of this blow to the Seleucid power, the outlying provinces of the empire, recovered by Antiochus, reasserted their independence. So because of this loss, and huge hit to Antiochus III and the Seleucid Empire, some areas that were taken over by Antiochus, they took this as the opportunity to break away from the Seleucid Empire and regain their independence. Antiochus mounted a fresh eastern expedition in Luristan, where he was killed while pillaging a temple of Baal at Elymais, Persia in 187 BC. Verse 19, we read, then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found, because, he ended up dying. So now, let's cover the Treaty of Alpamaea that Antiochus III had to sign after losing to Rome. Because, as we read more into Daniel 11, that plays a crucial part. The Treaty of Alpamaea. The Treaty of Alpamaea was a peace treaty conducted in 188 BC between the Roman Republic and Antiochus III, ruler of the Seleucid Empire. It ended the Roman Seleucid War. The treaty took place after Roman victories at the Battle of Thermopylae in 191 BC. And, this Battle of Thermopylae is a different one from the one with Persia and the Spartans. It's just that they take place in the same area, but, different time, two different battles. The Battle of Magnesia in 190 BC, and after Roman and Rhodian naval victories over the Seleucid navy. In terms of this treaty, the treaty, according to Appian, obliged Antiochus III to abandon Europe altogether and all of Asia west of the Taurus Mountains. He had to surrender all the war elephants in his possession and was limited to 12 warships for the purpose of keeping his subjects under control. But he was allowed to build more if he was attacked. Antiochus was barred from recruiting mercenaries north of the Taurus, that is, from territory just ceded to Roman allies Pergamon and Rhodes, right? Because this is now, Roman territory, and entertaining fugitives from the same. Antiochus had to give 20 hostages whom Roman consul would select. The hostages should be changed every third year except the son of Antiochus. So not only did he have to give up 20 hostages, but one of them had to be a son of his. So this son would become a hostage at Rome. And this son of his that became a hostage at Rome was Mithridates, or, what we more commonly know him as, Antiochus III Epiphanes. And, and we read this here in the book of Maccabees. Book of 1 Maccabees chapter 1, start at verse 8. And his servants bear rule, everyone in his place. And this is going into the servants or the generals of Alexander the Greek. After his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, going into Ptolemy, Seleucus, Cassander, and Lysimachus, those generals of his who all became kings in their respective regions. So did their sons after them, many years, dealing with their respective dynasties or empires, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, which we know Antiochus Epiphanes came out of that Seleucid line. You had Seleucus the first, Antiochus the first, Antiochus the third, Seleucus the second, and then from Seleucus the second, you had Seleucus the third, and Antiochus the third, who we were reading about just now, and then from Antiochus the third, you get Seleucus the fourth and Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes. See if we can find a family tree. Here. So we got from Seleucus the first Nicator, Antiochus the first Soter, to Antiochus the second Theos, Seleucus the second Callinicus, Seleucus the third, Antiochus the third the Great, who we've been speaking about, Seleucus the fourth, and Antiochus the fourth, which Antiochus the fourth, here we're looking at Antiochus the third's family. Antiochus and Laodice had 8 children, 3 sons and 5 daughters. Here at the bottom we have Mithridates, 215 and 164 BC. He succeeded his brother Seleucus IV Philopator in 175 BC under the regnal name Antiochus IV Epiphanes. So he is that Antiochus Epiphanes. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king. With this Antiochus the king is Antiochus III. And, for those who don't already know, these names like Antiochus or Seleucus, so on and so forth, they're more like titles. It's like using the term of Pharaoh. That's not their name, but, it's their title. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome. So Antiochus Epiphanes was a hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Now, why was Antiochus Epiphanes a hostage at Rome? Well, we just read it, dealing with the Treaty of Alpamea, where one of the hostages Antiochus III had to give up to Rome had to be his son. He gave up his son Antiochus Epiphanes as that hostage, even though, at that time his name, he was known as Mithridates, is still, the same person. So finishing up here, the hostages should be changed every third year, except the son of Antiochus. In the future, he would maintain no elephants. The Seleucids were forced to pay an indemnity of 15,000 talents of silver of debt, 500 Eumenic talents immediately, 2,500 more when the Roman Senate ratified the treaty, and installments of 1,000 talents each to be delivered to Rome annually for the next 12 years. The Seleucids also agreed to an indemnity of 540,000 mode of corn. He was also forced to surrender all prisoners and deserters to his enemies and to Eumenes II, the king of Pergamon, whatever remains of the possessions he required by his agreement with Attalus I, the father of Eumenes. Rome gave the control of a large part of Asia Minor to Eumenes. Antiochus kept the region of Cilicia, while most of Lycia and Caria became part of the Rhodian Perea. Hellenistic kings generally accepted for their own lifetimes any treaty they had signed on the grounds of honor. On the other hand, their heirs did not feel honor-bound to accept treaties signed by their predecessors. The naval conditions of the treaty appear to have fallen into obedience, but other conditions held, right? So, the agreement of them having to give up 20 hostages, pay this debt, that continued on through that Seleucid Empire. The treaty was formalized at Apamea in Phrygia. It allowed the Romans to expand their political hegemony to the eastern Mediterranean Sea. But at this time, Roman power was still indirect, and Rome depended on its capacity to ally itself to second-rank powers such as Pergamon and Rhodes. The harsh reparations weakened the Seleucid Empire, causing a shortage of money and weakening the ability of the Seleucids to manage their kingdom. So these were the conditions that the Seleucid Empire had to be subject to after losing the war. And that's pretty much it on verses 18 and 19. But to read it once more, after this shall he turn his face unto the isles and shall take many, right? Going into, him going up, getting the coastal regions, going up into Greece, taking those islands over there within the Aegean, setting footing in Thrace, so on and so forth. But a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. Without his own reproach, he shall cause it to turn upon him. Right? When he went up against the Romans, they beat him, he had to retreat. They came, followed him, defeated him, forced him to sign the Treaty of Apamea. And then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found, because he goes on to die. So that's pretty much it. Lord willing, I can continue on, and I pray that this video was edifying in some way, shape, or form. Before I go, once more, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakakwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone.